discussed in the meeting. One of the things that we discussed in the meeting, and for those of you who weren't in the meeting with us, is we discussed treating symptoms versus treating the actual problem. So, I think what we use the term cancer. And it's how do you heal somebody, you can heal some of the symptoms if cancer is causing you nosebleeds, if it's causing these things, there are things to do to heal the symptoms, but you have to get rid of the cancer in order for the symptoms to ever fully go away. So the first question, which was interesting to me, was, what are you going to do about Chief Lee? Chief Lee's the cancer. So I still have yet to hear anything to fully address what's going to go on with that. Well, I do acknowledge the fact that you said you will come back with, see what the findings are from the Department of Justice, what the findings are from the Department of Justice. The first thing I would like to know, and I'm going to go point by point, so then you can, I'm sorry, that's the only way my brain can work. So, Department of Justice is, I get that. However, what the Department of Justice is going to do, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Battles, is, it's going to do everything you guys said, which is, it's going to look into how, if there's discrimination within the police department, it's going to check best practices and things of that nature. Nothing that I have seen thus far leads me to believe that the officers do not know what the best practices are. The point is that they do not execute the best practices. So if there's an investigation, they're going to know how to do the paperwork correctly to show that what they did was okay, but the community is loudly and clearly stating that what they actually do is not quite what you see on the paperwork. So the question then becomes, if the community has already spoken about what the cancer is, why the cancer has yet to be removed. And even in that, if there is going to be something that goes in, I believe that was part of the city commission, the creation of the community relations board commission, and that was going to be something that they were able to look into. First of all, let me calm down. 2, 3, and 4 are actually one point. Because basically what you're saying is there needs to be a community relations commission, and 3 and 4 is just fleshing out what that is. So this isn't 9 points, this is 6. So the community relations commission, I guess, can look into how the community feels about the police chief. However, you've given this commission no teeth. So they can tell you, I don't like Chief Lee, which is basically what they've already done, and they have nothing that they can do to ensure that you have to listen to what they say. So I am for letting the Department of Justice look into it, because that's proper protocol. We believe in proper protocol. Absolutely do that. However, there has to be something that the community can do to push you to do the right thing. So what I believe, and Gabe, I'll defer to Gabe, Gabe may have other ideas. My initial reaction is the Community Relations Commission needs to have subpoena power. Meaning, if something that they are suggesting is not being listened to, they can subpoena a public official. And basically, it's put up or shut up at that point. Beyond that, the appointment of a community relations commission, even if it's by commissioners, who we know that some of the commissioners have been very vocal and very helpful in this case, is still missing the point. Because you have to have it come directly from the community, and what you're essentially saying is that some people who are getting paid by the city are going to decide who sits on that panel, and that can't be it. The community needs to be able to speak for themselves. So not only does the community commission need to be elected within the community, but the director of the community relations staff should come from that election. So it's like those elected officials then elect who their chair is going to be. If you all continue to pick who you want to stand up for the community, is the good old boy system continuing. As far as it being a staff person, I understand that it's a volunteer position. I understand that there's a lot of work that goes into it. I am wholly against the person being paid. Because if they are on paid staff and they're getting their paycheck from you, they're going to be puppets just like most of the people in Sanford already, in Sanford City. So I say that you don't allow that position to be paid. If it's paid at best a stipend, and maybe that stipend come from the community. I don't know how that works itself out. That can be something to figure out. But it can't be a paid position, because then it just turns into the good old boy system again. The creation of the Community Relations Blue Ribbon Panel, again, 1, 2, and 2, 3, and 4, that's all basically the same thing. I think the community panel is good. I think all of this is good if executed properly. Again, being voted by the community, not being appointed, staff not getting paid. If they are, it comes from a place outside of the city, and that they have subpoena power, they have teeth. Establish a formal working relationship with the Florida Commission on Human Rights. Don't know why you haven't done that already. Establishment of an interracial interfaith alliance. So a lot of these, okay, let me start there. That's great. I do believe that there should be an interracial interfaith alliance because we know that a lot of times a part of the community is the church. My issue though is that what we've already gathered from the community, and again, the community would get an opportunity to speak, so they can correct me if I'm wrong, is most of the community doesn't want to speak to you. They just want you to do what they've asked you to do before they want to move on to any more dialogue. That being said, it's going to be important to find out who it is that the community does trust in this, as in the Sanford city, whether it's the council or whoever who in the running of the city, who they do trust and who they want to speak to. So that again being said, as you're going out to discuss this with the community, I don't know if it's best that you send out people from your office. They don't like you. So they're not going to be upfront with you if they even open their doors. So I don't think, well, I think that will work. And in particular, I think it's good to go through the faith communities because we're all going to the Lord's house no matter what. Who you send in there is going to be very important. I think that needs to be looked at, and that needs to be community picked as well. Anti-violence campaign, super for that, in particular knowing what the track record is. I believe there were 17 unsolved murders so far this year in Sanford that have yet to be fully investigated. All for that. As far as the Trayvon Martin case, he didn't shoot himself. So what the point is that if you're going to do that, let that be holistic and reach into the suburbs as well as just, I guess, the urban areas, so that even though whatever the governor comes up with stand your ground, that people understand that chasing somebody is not the stand your ground law. That's you pursuing somebody inappropriately. Community meetings, again, they should already be being held by commissioners. So I'm with that, but I think it's one of those things like, oh, cool, you guys are going to do what you're supposed to do. That's great. Continued support Department of Justice. I love Mr. Battles. I love Mildred. I think they'll be great. And as far as this, yeah, it's cool that there are 15 cameras here, but it's your job to present it to the community. It's not their job to make sure that they're watching at the right time. So my suggestion would be to put this on the website, as well as have some mail out, something, whether you guys have to give. I know printing is expensive or whatever, but taxes. So make sure that this is in the hands of the community and that there's some structure set up to where they can even have say-so on this part of it from this point on. I'll defer to Gabe.
Yeah, Vanessa said a lot. I just wanted to say a couple sentences here, and I'm hoping that we can get to the point. Is that what we're talking about is a fundamental imbalance of power that is going on here and is going on across the state. Power that's concentrated in the hands of a very few individuals who continually make decisions about our lives and what it should be. The only way to build power is through organizing, and it's to organize, and it's to build relationships. The most radical thing that can happen today in Sanford and across the state of Florida is that all of us build relationships with each other, and that we're clear about what we want, and that we demand it collectively. Right? Because right now, what's going on is that the city is making decisions. Right? A few people are making decisions for you. And are giving us what is a pretty comprehensive plan, but like it says, a skeleton. And those details have to be worked out by the individuals who are most impacted by it. And there's a process that they're talking about that's sort of laid out. But, at a university, what administration does when you meet with them on an issue that you care about is they listen to you, and then they set up a committee to explore it. And that committee usually takes about 8 months or so. And by the time they're done, you've either graduated or you've forgotten, it's not the most relevant issue in the community. This is what I'm saying here, is that this is a process and it's a long one. Right? And we know that this is a long term, this is a marathon. We said it a long time ago, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So I want to talk about what we're committing to bring to the table as student leaders around the state and as youth. Is that we're committing to work with the residents of Sanford to build their own power. Right? People, we're often afraid of the word power because it brings a lot of negative connotations to it. But power is fundamentally the ability to do. Right? The city manager right now has the ability to fire Bill Lee, but he is choosing not to. Right? So, in order for that to change, right? Because this is a city manager form of government, and that's designed specifically to limit the influence that the community has in their own government. Right? You restrict the number of people who are participating, you have control. Right? So what we need to do is broaden that. And this is something that needs to just happen, not just happen in Sanford, but all over Florida. Right? So we're going to organize. Right? I'm committed to come down, the students will come down to help work with the residents of Sanford to register new voters, right? To do voter education. So that it's not just a vote anymore, but an organized vote. Right? And not just in Sanford, but outlying communities. Not just in Ocala, but in Miami and in Tallahassee. But for us, we're here for the long term. Right? We're not going anywhere. We call ourselves dream defenders for a reason. Right? Martin Luther King had a dream. Millions of Latino immigrants from around this country and other immigrants have dreams. Right? Every black and brown child in a public school system right now has a dream, and that dream is being taken from them day by day by day by individuals who are not being held accountable and are only concerned about getting reelected or continuing to keep the little power they have. So we had to take it back. So that's what we're offering right now. Is that we're going to come down, not just figure out a way that we can support in a real way that voter registration, that voter education process, but also be very clear that at any point people feel like things aren't moving along, right? That we're hearing of a process, an investigation to look at Bill Lee, and let's say maybe 30 days from now, we don't hear, that investigation wrapped up. This is what I'm worried about, right? That it's going to be lost in time. We're committed to coming down and helping accelerate the process.